What up, everyone? Hope everybody's enjoying the game and having some fun with Safiyyah. I'm going to make a little video here. We're going to talk about Safiyyah's synergies, good team comp build around her, and I'm going to focus on anybody from Iria, basically these hanged men, and how they work with her, and how I've been having a lot of fun playing with it and experimenting. As you can see, my Safiyyah is level 60, rank 12. I've decided to go with the ever-burning blade. I really like that weapon. I've been having a lot of fun with it. And then as the residence, I've been using this one. Where she moves, she gets 4% up per tile, up to 12%. It's been really fun, man. It's great. But yeah, without further ado, let's go through and let's talk about it. We're going to talk about the synergies, what units I think you should use, how I would build them. If possible. Of course, there's two that are legendary that I'm going to mention in here, and I'll go over what you can do to supplement or change or to use instead, and then I'll end it by showing you a little bit of combat using them in a stage on hard mode. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, with Safiyyah, I'm going to go ahead and hit the legendaries first. If you don't like this, you can skip ahead, but I'm going to go over Dandelion and then Nural. So let's talk about Dandelion. Dandelion is a blast. Period. Dot. In my opinion, he's really good for PvE as far as self-sustain, and that's what makes him good in PvP as well. Now for him, I put him with an HP build, and I'm going on him with the Newborn Blade. His resonance is 5% more damage with 15% lifesteal. That's a Sword and Chalice mix. And then this trinket, this evergreen pendant, is what really makes him pretty great, in my opinion, for just about anything. And so what this does is, anytime you're healed, it gains one random level 2 attribute buff, and it lasts for 2 turns. Well, he takes heals like anyone else from a healer. However, anytime that life steal procs, he gets that buff. And so he's consistently applying buffs to himself. It's really, really good. It's great. This trinket's really good on Roia, but also on Dandelion for this reason. Not only that, but over time, and as you kill, Devil, the Devil Terror Whisper is proccing, and so you're getting more and more Devil stacks per up to 30%. You're gonna get more and more attack and defense. 3% per kill up to 30%. And then let's talk about his trait. Increase Dandelion's attack and defense by 5%. For every one character defeated in battle, he recovers 20% HP and 1 energy. Now, it's implied maybe, but I want to make it clear, this is for anything that dies, anyone in battle. Not just allies, but anything. So that's really good. He's really fun. He synergizes with Safiyyah really well, in my opinion. He gives us a little bit of range, good HP soak, and what makes him synergize really well with Safiyyah is this aura right here for Iria. And basically, for all Iria allies in battle, increases attack by 10% and defense by 20%. Allies attack deal 20% more damage if the enemy's affected by 3 or more debuffs. I'm going to get into that more here in a minute, because that's part of the synergy I've built into this team as well. And I'm going to give you a couple alternatives you can use. But anyways, that within itself really makes Safiyyah really good, in my opinion. That's a hard buff on her, and then anyone from Iria, which is what we're going to build around for Safiyyah. Past that, you can do just about whatever you want with him build wise. Have fun with it, assuming you even have him. And if you don't, then like I said, cruise on by. Now, Nural, I had no intentions of using this guy when I got him. I'm pretty happy now that I did get him. I've had a lot of fun experimenting and utilizing him. And so he's not maxed out. I'm running low on resources, but I am still having fun with him all the same. Nurgal's got this block. At the end of the turn, he gains a shield charge. Shield charge increases block chance to 100%. When performed block, it reduces damage taken by 10% for each stack. Remove 1 stack after receiving a physical single target attack. It's fantastic. So he can have multiple charges of this, and so he'll have rounds where he blocks quite a few times, and if he's gone by several rounds without needing to block anything. Oh, there goes that water bottle, sorry. So yeah, and then bayonet charge. After performing a block, he gains the bayonet charge, which increases attack by 10%, with the effect doubled against targets with Hangman's Mark. Actively attacking removes all stacks. So that's really cool. That's fun. Hangman Mark's a big mechanic in all this too, because that's what Safiyyah utilizes and rolls off of, as do all the Hangmen. And so for him, I put on just a gold sword, nice rare sword, dueling dagger, gives him 20% more physical defense when protecting from the front or side, which when he blocks, a lot of times he turns and he faces them. So it's nice, a little extra defense in there. His resonance is the double pinnacle, is what we went with there. When injured, it increases your damage by 5% and decreases damage taken by 5%. When dying, increases damage by 10% and decreases damage taken by 10%. It synergizes really well with his reaction that I've taken, which is critical moment. When the character is dying, he dodges all single target attacks for 1 turn. At the start of the turn, the start of the turn recovers 50% HP and has a 7-turn cooldown. And so, let's talk about his trinket. For that trinket, I put Mysterious Guardian. When attacked from the front, he gains 25% physical defense and has a 0 defense attribute debuff. So basically he's immune to defensive debuffs. It's really good. And then for his Terror Whisper, I put on the Silence of the Hermit, which gives him a total of 20% less damage taken. But yeah, this is how I build them. These abilities, you can play with it a little bit. Some of these things, you know, you can pick different things if you do have them, if you're using them. The main thing that I'm really interested in with him is that Mark of Illumination. And so it's a debuff, and it's instant. And for 5 tiles out and ahead of him, he inflicts a Hangman's Mark, attack down 2, and vulnerable 2 on all enemies. And it lasts 2 turns. Remember, with Dandelion, the more debuffs on the opponent, the better. They have 3 or more debuffs, then they're going to take that 20% extra damage. On top of that, he's putting 20% increased damage on him too, which does stack, making for 40% increased damage. Really, really good. If you can get it all work out. Really, really good. But those are the 2 legendaries. I'm going to skip on ahead to the next person, which I assume most everybody has, and that is the Enforcer. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. I kind of have a hard time with him, and there's an alternative you can use for him if you do have Dandelion and Nural and you don't want to use him. But I use him for the debuffs, and so that he can soak a little bit of damage, so that your Dandelion and Safiyyah and whatnot have someone else to kind of share the burden with and tanking. And so on him, let's talk about these ranks. I went with Luxite Dust Bomb. It's a nice little AoE debuff. 2 random level 1 debuffs on them that last for 2 turns. Like I said, we want to get at least 3 on those enemies at any given time. His passive, after attacking, he inflicts speed down 3 on the target for 2 turns. Fantastic. Reaction, when hit by an active attack, damage taken is decreased by 2%, and he steals 2 random buffs from the target. So that just seemed to kind of synergize with what he had going on. I like that consistent 8% damage reduction. And then right here, we have his counterattack mode. Adds 20% physical defense, and magic defense, and increases strike back damage by 50%. And gains preempt, which allows him to hit before being hit, and increases strike back range by 2 tiles. That's just what I chose to get instead of this, because he's not our main damage dealer. I'm not really too worried about settlement of the Hangman on him. I mean, it is what it is. If you want it, by all means. I've been enjoying using counterattack mode, just so that he hits and he gets more debuffs out. That's what he's all about, is getting more debuffs out. And then for his melee attack, his basic attack, I took Feverish Attack for the 20% lifesteal, because I want him to be able to get, I want him to have some sustain in all of it. You can definitely go for Disarm Attack. It will inflict attack 1 down on the target in the last 2 turns. There's nothing wrong with that. It synergizes just as well. I just happen to go with the sustain for this build and this synergy. Now, for items, I know not everybody's going to have all these legendaries and things like that, but I use Senator Swift Sword. And I chose it because of the HP increase, and after doing a single attack damage, single target attack, it inflicts move down 1. And so that's a debuff, synergizes, it's perfect. It only lasts 1 turn. It's unlucky. I only have it at 1 star. If you don't have that, there's other things you can supplement it for, you know, as far as swords and things like that. If you want to put a more tanky sword on them, by all means, have at it. Like Newborn Blade or anything like that. After a while, it gets really easy to get those legendaries, so I know eventually you'll have them and be able to put them on him. For his trinket, I use Crystal Burst Armor. So he turns, he has more HP, a little more tanky, and then he turns and he does a little more damage to those strike backs. Just kind of synergized with that ability I put on him. I like that. And then I put the Silence of the Hermit on him, so he takes less damage. I don't have one with the double 10%, unfortunately, but he gets lots of good little traits out of this, so that's why I put that one on him. And then for his Resonance, I chose the Pinnacle as well, and so he gets that injured when dying, that damage mitigation and damage increase consistently. So he's there just to add more debuffs and to do more for the team and create that synergy and basically make sure that we get across the line to get that extra 30% damage on any given enemy. So yeah, past that, the next person I have in here is, let's go ahead and talk about Stinger. Stinger is the agent Safiyyah can deploy basically, but it's his full kit. It's the real deal. It's a fantastic unit, a lot of fun to play with. He inflicts a Hangman's Mark just like the other, which I didn't discuss. Let's go back and look at that. Enforcer, after end of each turn, with any enemy within 5 tile radius gets that Hangman's Mark. Gotta mention that, sorry. It's a big deal. Stinger will inflict that Hangman's Mark as well for the closest enemy within 3 tiles. And he does increase damage to enemies with Hangman's Mark. That's kind of a given. Now on him, I have the following. I have Beheading Machete. Like I said, on these guys, weapon-wise, you put whatever you want. But for me, I put Beheading Machete. I like the Highland difference and the bonus attack. I had a couple options. Like I could have went with some Void Stab, things like that. But I really wanted to use this Beheading Machete on him. I like him to have the mobility. I like him to get above them. He will hit that with his extra attacks, even if he's got range. That crossbow is not just for show. So get Highland, get the bonus damage. It's fantastic. Now, let's look at this trinket. I put Unique Code on him just to give him a little bit of sustain. So when he does turn and he takes damage, when he's out there and he is fighting, he's not just going to instantly get one shot, one tap. That can be a little bit of a burden and a hassle, especially when he's getting going with these double stacks. So that was my choice for him. Once again, you put whatever you want on there. That's what I went with. Now for that tarot, I chose Temptation of the Devil. I think it's great. The more kills you get, he snowballs to the most stronger he gets with this attack and defense, and that's exactly what you want for him. Let's get to the meat and bone of it. For his basic attack, I chose Silencing Attack. It's 50%, deals 50% physical damage 2 times and inflicts no active skill on injured targets. It's more debuffs, so it gets a step more further across the line for that 30% damage. And then, of course, there's the obvious benefit of the debuffs. For his reaction skill, I chose Vital Guard. I chose that because, once again, he's out there, he's taking damage occasionally. I want him to be able to soak it and not just get one tapped. And so that's a big deal. And so whenever he gets attacked by an active attack, damage taken is decreased by 8%, period, dot. When receiving attack if the character is dying, he gains dodge for 1 turn. It's fantastic. It happens once per turn. For one of his abilities, which you can take Infect Dagger, I do have that. That is a debuff. It's fantastic. I have here first, I have Shadow Assault. I like it because it gives us that dodge. That's a big deal. Like I said, he's going in, he gets in melee range. You want that. It's fantastic. I also took Luxite Shrapnel on him. It does piercing damage, 10%, and inflicts effect on a wide range of enemies over a wide area. Fantastic. Great. More debuffs, more damage. Can't beat it. And then for the last one, I have Settlement of the Hangsman because I wanted to be able to finish enemies and just kill them off. I like that. It does make sense to put it on an Enforcer in some ways, so if you choose to go do that, by all means. I have it on him. It does work. It's fantastic. That's how I built Stinger to go on the team. Now, let's talk about Candlelight. This character is honestly, to me, other than Safiyyah, what makes this team fun. Candlelight is stupendous. Before being attacked from the front or side, and inflicts hangman marks on the target for 2 turns. Allies within 5 tiles around the characters take 20% less damage if the attackers have hangman mark. It's interesting passive. It's not her whole kit. It's not the meat and bones of her kit. Now for her, on her weapon, I did put Ink Totem. She is a healer primarily, and so that's what I want her to do. But more than just a healer, which that resonance, as you can see, is we got the cup. And so the resonance, we got this increased healing effect and healing received by 10%. She's also a battery. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. When I say battery, I mean she's not only healing, she's putting out energies and buffs. She's a buffer, she's a support, but that battery, to be able to give the energy that she does is so good. And I'll get into that in a second. Let's talk about this trinket. Trinket, I put coexist armor. I want her to be healthy. I want her to take that extra that less damage at any given time, because I want her to stay alive and have sustain and stay in the fight. You never know what'll happen. Those AoEs come in. Sometimes people get behind the front line. You name it. That just gives her a little bit of sustain. It's a big deal for me. Now, Course of Fortune. That's what I put on her for that Wheel of Fortune buff. I like it. It has a little AoE heal, does AoE damage, buffs her. I'm happy with it. You can put whatever you want if you prefer something else. That's what I prefer on her. Now let's talk about her abilities. For her basic attack, I chose Sealing Attack for that, because it inflicts that debuff, no passive skills on injured targets. That's what I went with. The alternative, in my opinion, wasn't great. You can go with this for Feverish Attack and get that 20% lifesteal. I don't really think it's that great on her. I don't want her taking a lot of damage. I don't want her to need sustain and be in the front line. So I like her to just add a little bit of extra if she does get within range for a melee attack, and be able to do a little bit of debuffing while doing it. For her reaction, she has energy recovery. When hit by an active attack, the damage is decreased by 8%. Very important. I want her to take as little damage as possible. Upon receiving that active attack, additionally recovers 1 energy. I want her to have energy all the time. She's not, it just goes without saying. The more energy, the better. Now, I have wanted notice on her. Now, what this does is it inflicts Hangman's Mark on a single target. Look at the range on that bad boy. 5 tiles out. Fantastic. And it inflicts speed down. Another debuff. On the target lasts for 2 turns. It also heals all allies within 4 tiles of the target chosen. And they gain the move 1 buff. Super duper great. Love it. Super solid heal. A lot of fun to use. When she pops it, it looks like a signal flare. I'll show you later. It's fantastic. Really cool. This is just a basic heal. Soothe Soul, 75% of her magic attack. It's great. You can go with an alternative if you'd rather. Light of Judgment does damage and it heals. Or you can go with Inner Light, which it selects 1 ally target and restores 1 energy to all allies within 3 tiles. Really, really good. And that's what I'm talking about here, being a battery. Being able to cast that and give energy to everybody, especially Safiyyah, if you want to keep deploying agents, it's really fun. It's really cool. And she can do that with that ability. And with this ability, Special Mission. There's a 3-turn cooldown. However, it restores 4 energy to the target ally and grants them attack up by 2, which is 20%, defense 2, which is 40%, and magic defense 2, which is another 40%. Holy moly. So we throw Safiyyah, she deploys her agent, pop this, Safiyyah's deploying another agent the next turn. You want to talk about throwing out some damage? This is happening. This is a must on her for me, and that's what I prefer to put on her over the other skills. That's how I build her. Candlelight, for me, is what makes this team a lot of fun, aside from Safiyyah. So, we talked about Candlelight, Stinger, and Enforcer. That's a given, right? What I didn't mention is this unit right down here. If you don't like Enforcer and you have Nural, or you have Dandelion, or maybe you don't have them, Night Raven is a great choice, because she's obviously going to benefit from those hangman marks. and whatnot. The problem she has is she doesn't inflict Hangman Mark. And so she is great because she's a debuffer. She does magic damage, she nukes, and she debuffs. I haven't built her up at all, but when I read her and I see everything she can do, her synergy with Dandelion and that getting that bonus 30% damage is pretty big. However, I'm able to get it off with Enforcer, and I have someone out there who can soak that extra bit of damage, so I don't use her. But let's go ahead and look at her. Let's talk about it. Now, at rank 1, you can get Life Devour with Lifesteal. We don't want that. Not in my opinion, I don't think, anyways. Erosion is what you're going to go for. Single target, 85% damage, inflicts 2 random level 2 debuffs. Lasts for 2 turns. Fantastic. Now, just like all of them, she has Settlement of the Hangman. I'd pass that. I'd go for Corruption. It's a passive, and at the end of your turn, you inflict 2 random level 1 debuffs on 1 random enemy within 3 tiles, and it lasts for 2 turns. Just rolling out the debuffs. Now, let's talk about her reaction skills. When hit by an active attack, this is Glare, damage taken is decreased by 8%, and upon receiving an active attack, it inflicts damage down 2, which is a minus 20% on the attack for 2 turns. It's that or Protection of Darkness, which is that same 8% damage reduction, but before being hit by an active attack, for every debuff on the attacker, it increases damage taken by an additional 10 to 30%. So this Protection of Darkness is going to give you more sustain for her specifically, whereas Glare is going to be more of a skill that benefits the whole team. I don't think the damage decrease is before the damage is inflicted on her, but after. And so she benefits the team by taking Glare. She benefits herself by taking Protection of Darkness. Glare is probably where you'd want to go, in my opinion. What you do is your business. Have fun. Now, at rank 7, both these skills are pretty great, in my opinion. Dark Ripple, AoE damage, 70%, all enemies within 2 tiles, the target, and inflicts no passive skills, no reaction skills. It's pretty decent. The alternative is Darkest Annihilation. Single target attack does 180% damage. It's good damage. Before attacking, the character gains Armor Piercing, which means it ignores 40% of the target's defense when attacking. That's big. That's a great attack. It's almost a must grab. The other, you can grab it too if you want to double up. That's a must grab, just about. Now, Charged Attack for her basic attack at rank 9 deals 80% magical damage and increases the damage of the next spell 50%. Solid. If that's what you like, nothing wrong with it. I'd probably go with Hypnotic Attack. Deals 80% magic damage and grants 30% chance to inflict sleep for 1 turn. That 1 turn of somebody sleeping, not being able to do anything, even only at 30% of the time, is a big deal, in my opinion. That's just me, though. And if you disagree, there's nothing wrong with that. So, she's a super solid and healthy choice for the team and the Iria build. If you can deploy 6, all these units I've mentioned, they go. They bang. If you can't, you only deploy 5 per the norm, well then, she's the one that falls off for me. It doesn't get included immediately. Now, for another alternative, someone to add in and throw in to synergize well with Safiyyah, you can put just about anyone. A lot of people have Inanna, some don't. She's Irian. She's not really synergized too much past that. She is a healer. She does do a job. She does come with a guard. She's super amazing. I don't even need to talk about it. Everybody and their mother knows it. And then, of course, there's others out there, that I don't have. Some people have Nunal, and they swear by her. And apparently, she's pretty good at marking enemies, putting the Hangman mark out, things like that. That's great. If you have her, and you can throw her on there and utilize it, then by all means, do it. If you know anything else, throw it down in the comments. With that said, let's talk about the combat. Let's go and look at it. Here we go. Let's take a look at this team. If you need to supplement one, like I said, you can definitely do so. If you can't, anyone goes in there, but this is my team. Let's watch it. Let's have some fun. You tell me what you think. I chose this fight because they get a little split up. It is a hard fight in my opinion. The enemies come in, they hit hard. The wolves in particular, they got a burning attack. But I like that the team gets split up and is forced to, and you get kind of showcase what it can do without too much overlapping. Here comes these wolves. Coming in, enemies approaching. We're going to go ahead and mark him up. We're not doing nothing for the turn. That's going to apply that debuff to Hangman's Mark. He attacks. It's going to also apply that debuff to Hangman's Mark. She's going to come up. She's going to use a trinket. She's going to summon an agent. We're just going to try to get rid of him fast. He counters Safiyyah as a tank, so we want to get rid of him. We don't want the threat. Now those deployed agents, they soak damage, they take the enemy's turns, and that's fine. That's what we want. We're not bothered by that at all. The end line takes a little bit of damage, that's not a threat. There goes that Luxite bomb. Getting those AoE damages out. Those AoE debuffs out. There's that energy back. Now we're going to be able to deploy another agent if we so choose. Swap spots. Now notice here that when Safiyyah's agent dies, it procs Dandelions passive and all Devil Taros. Just free damage. We didn't lose anything by that agent yet. I set her here and I let her just soak it up. Completely recovered and now buffed because he got that life steal. Applied more debuffs there. Beautiful. Great damage.
Welcome.
You start moving the healer to the other side, so I want to make sure that we have the sustain there. The Enforcer doesn't do a good enough job of healing himself, in my opinion, so he's got to have Calite nearby somewhere in order to really be able to do his job. I'm just trying to counter all this. It makes it look too easy. And in this fight, in my opinion, the wolves are really nasty. There goes that agent when deployed. He's gonna go down there and do some damage and soak damage. Number 1 turns, finishes the attack, applies a Hangman Mark. Beautiful thing about him. I pop this to do some extra damage over on that far right side to get control of the fight. More debuffs. Another Hangman Mark. He dies. No consequence. More damage. We back her up and let him come at us a little bit. Beautiful. It's that settlement of the Hangman's Mark. There it is. Like I said, it looks like a flare when it's proc. Beautiful. Now I know that wolf already had a Hangman's Mark. I used that to make sure that proc on the allies. That attack's gorgeous. Slams them all. Lots of devil procs. He's doing his job, just cleaning up, protecting the king. He dies. It's unfortunate. It's just the way of it. You roll. It's the tank's job, right? Well, a little bit tanky. She eats it. We're going to push down to her. We're going to start going after her. That sorceress is being her.
Iriaのために甘い。
Throw another agent. So much damage. We go through the fire just to make sure we get the kill. We don't want her to keep casting. Another buff. Another debuff.
動じる。つけ込まれる。
Beautiful. That's our agent. She deployed. We just switch positions. It's nice. We get her closer over there because she has to rotate. But she doesn't have to because the fight is over. This team's a lot of fun. I love playing like this. It's great. I'd show you some more, but yeah, I don't want to bore you with all that. So that's my team comp. Like I said, if you got Nunal, throw her in there. If you don't, by all means. If you don't have Nural, if you don't have Dandelion, like I said, Nunal is a great choice. And then there's nothing wrong with using Night Raven. Night Raven synergizes and fits with that Hangman Mark synergy. She's really good for the debuffs. But for this team that I have, if you're able to build it, it's a lot of fun. I suggest using it, and it really complements Safiyyah, obviously, and it's a blast. It makes the game fun. That's what it's all about, right? So, leave me your thoughts. Put it down in the comments. Like if you approve. Tell me all about it. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. If you see something that I've done wrong or that I could do better, please drop it down below, because I'm always learning. I'm just trying to share with everybody and make the game more fun and interesting for everyone, because I love this game. I think it's a huge blessing. I've always been a huge Final Fantasy Tactics fan, and so I've been craving something that fits that niche, and it's just like it. And I've only been slightly disappointed by some things like triangle strategies, things like that. So this game really fits it for me. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.